Happy Friday. Today, we're going to do what we always do, which is write and talk. I'm working on one of my essays. I'm not going to show that right now because I tend to get flagged for showing my own stuff and it takes too long for me to appeal it. So, you're going to see most of my face. But the focus of today is really, again, obedience. I think that we're going to deal with that all week. I put out a TikTok video about it's to be just direct. It is very difficult sometimes for me to get out of bed, and every single morning I'm woken up by the Lord and he's telling me to get up. And sometimes I don't want to. And obedience doesn't always look like this made up face I have right now. It's not always clean. It's not always comfortable. Most of the time, obedience is very uncomfortable. And I did that video just because that was my struggle this morning, really, to be honest. That was definitely my struggle. So I'm trying to figure out which book I want to work on. Right now, it's between the essay book or the grief book. I think I want to work on the essay book. Yeah, I think that's one of the two. So I normally don't get up here on live on Fridays. Hi, everybody that's joining on TikTok. I normally just go on Wednesdays and Mondays. So I am trying to go live a little bit more to make sure my studio is fully functioning, one, and then also to make sure that I am staying on track with the recording stuff. Like right now, with the TikTok live doing everything that it's doing, I can actually download this, add it to my studio, and then dub it down. I could reformat it, change frames. I could do a lot with this studio. So that's why I get on TikTok Studio, and because it's a lot that you can do to edit these videos. So normally, like if it's a video like this, I'll take it and I normally chop out all of this. This is all chopped out. I don't use any of this when I'm talking about. I chop out anything I'm talking about followers, anything I'm talking about with people giving me like gifts and stuff. I can chop that completely out, but still stay on the main topic. So yeah, all of this stuff can be cut. If you are someone who is trying to like just jump in, a lot of people tell you a lot of different things, especially when you go into trying to learn how to do this, and it can get confusing. Too much information, even though it might be good information, too much information can be sometimes a bad thing. And so what I would say is start simple. If you're already used to going live, whether it's on Facebook or TikTok, go on TikTok and download your live stream. After you download it, go ahead and have a studio, any type of studio. Most of these are free. I mean, they have some paid accessibilities, like if you're more proficient with it, but most of this stuff is free and it doesn't cost a lot of money. So thank you for joining. I am here on Friday. We're doing just some writing and some stuff I wrote a little earlier. I encourage you to share my live, and I also encourage you to leave some hearts. I have a goal up here for 10 hearts, but um, I wanted to talk today about how uncomfortable obedience can be. It's something I was writing about yesterday and this morning, um, that it really, like, we keep asking God for purpose, and we forget that purpose is wrapped in obedience. It's not comfortable um, most of the time. Sometimes it can be comfortable when you're being obedient. I think God is really gracious when it comes to that. But oftentimes, obedience is going to make you uncomfortable before it actually blesses you. I talk a lot about how uncomfortable it is for me to just sit here and do these recordings and write these books. It's incredibly uncomfortable for me. I am an introvert, and so I only really talk when it's needed. And so for me to be obedient, I have to start talking. And that, even now, is still very uncomfortable. Um, I don't necessarily like it. Um, so when we think about what obedience is, we try to think about doing the right thing. That's where our mind normally, like, organically goes. Am I doing the right thing? And realistically, if we are being obedient to God, it's trust and action. It's not just trusting what He's saying for us to do, or just trusting, Him to be the mighty Father that He is. It's also taking the action. Example, I trusted when God told me I needed to be writing and talking to people. I trusted it. And for a while, I didn't do it. I didn't do it because my own ego, I was in my way mentally, where I kept saying to myself that no one will want to hear what I have to talk about. I kept making excuses because my hair wasn't done. I didn't have the right makeup. I didn't have the right setup. It was always an excuse. And God met me at every one of those excuses. He said, you have a phone, and you can go live on Instagram or Facebook and talk. You have filters. If you don't like the way you look, just put a filter on you. That's okay. Just get it done. And so every excuse I had not to do it, I was met with a solution. And so it ultimately became, I had no reason, really. And there was no viable excuse on why I couldn't do it. Taking that action is truly surrendering to what God is telling you to do. Not what we want to do, but what God is telling you to do. I wanted to write, and I wanted people to know I wrote it, but I didn't want to talk about it. I wanted half of what God was saying. I was like, I'll do that part, but I don't want to do the other part. We're making a decision to really trust God's character. When we start thinking about when we're taking action on what He's telling us to do, even if it's uncomfortable, we're trusting Him. His reasoning, His why, not our own. In a profession I had not too long ago, I was taught to learn about people's why. If you can learn why they are standing in front of you, or why they want this item, then you could address that item to them. And knowing how to do that It's two-sided. The bad side of it is you can get anybody to do what you want them to do by manipulation because you know how to find people's why. The good side of it is you can help people be drawn to their passion, their purpose, and to God because you know how to resonate with people. So it's really your determination. If you know how to do that and you understand what I'm talking about, it's really your determination on whether you're going to be a superhero or you're going to be a supervillain. Because at the end of it all, it's either going to go good or it's going to go bad. Like, you get to decide how you help someone or how you use someone. And knowing people's why is really the baseline of truly being able to help someone because that's what I use that skill for. Can I use it to be an awful human being? Absolutely. I absolutely could. I could be awful. I could be a horrible person. And it's because I've studied things about psychology and things like that. But God put me in that space. The sun's trying to shine through. Look at that. God put me in that space where I learned that for his purpose, not for my own. I didn't learn how to understand what people wanted and how to understand why people wanted the things they wanted for my own benefit. It was never for me. I don't like the way that lighting's going. It made me break. I don't like that. Oh goodness, sorry. Um, and so being obedient is gonna disrupt your comfort. It's gonna definitely call you away from habits, people, environments that feel good. This feels good sitting here in my office at my job. And then you hear him. He says, it's time for you to leave that place. It's like, what? I just got here. I like it here. It's comfortable. It pays my bills. It allows me to use some skills that I have. I'm respected here. And it pulls you to a place where that obedience to him, where you're just completely uncomfortable. I've had a lot of different examples of that in my life. The biggest example I have is not even my own. Um, this lady, she was working at a place where she enjoyed. She did enjoy the work because it allowed her to use her skills and she knew she was helping. And so she said she had heard God say, you need to leave. And she didn't want to. She didn't want to leave because she was, one, very unsure whether it was God telling her to leave or her just being burnt out, saying that she needed to leave. The next reason is because it was stable. It stabilized her. That job put her financially in a position where she was financially stable. And then third, she did enjoy her work. She might not enjoy the people too much, but she enjoyed her work. And God kept saying, it's time to go. Come on, get up. It's time to go. And she kept not going. And a situation after situation after situation. And she kept noticing that it was definitely God giving her signs now, not just telling her. Now he's showing her it's time for you to go. And she ends up finally leaving. And she believed that she was supposed to venture into something else. I'm trying not to say too much about it because it's not my story to tell. But what ended up happening is it was time for her to go because someone very close to her needed her. needed her to be available. And her obedience was it. She was incredibly uncomfortable. She was didn't have any really place to be. Um, Income was slim. She just didn't know, and then she's following the obedience of God, trusting Him, and that's where He really does bless you when you start to break away from the habits and the people and the environments that you feel comfortable in, and you start actually looking at, okay, this is what He wants me to do, so I'm going to do it. That's it. That's it. Is that easy? No, that is not easy. It's going to break your routine. It's going to require you to sacrifice things that you love, you're comfortable with. It's going to require you to not really get any credit for anything you're doing. Sometimes I put a post on my story about how it's not about getting the credit. It's about having the work available. God has the work available. Why do we need the credit for it? It's not for us. The glory, that's not for us. And so just where's the work at? And when we do that, we don't get applause. We might not get acclimates. Um, and the biggest part of it, because we are social creatures, people they're not going to understand it. People will not understand what in the world you're doing with this obedience thing because it doesn't look right to them. It doesn't feel right to them. And you might make a lot of people uncomfortable. But we have to, stay silent, really. And I don't mean stay silent because if your calling is like mine is to just talk about experiences from my own point of view, it's not it's things some things don't need to be said. I just experienced that. I wanted to call everyone involved in peeking through the window of my life and going through the back door and feeling that they were entitled to try to disrupt my life. I wanted to call them. I know where they live too. I wanted to go there. I wanted to get on live and just air it out. I wanted to do a lot of things. And realistically, like doing those things wouldn't have helped me. What it would have done is hurted me more than help. And it's in those times when we have to really be silent and listen to the Holy Spirit. He's going to let us know when it is to talk, what to talk about. I think about Moses a lot um, with his lack of confidence in the way he spoke. Um, he'll give it to us. Hi, thank you. He'll let us know, what it is we're supposed to do and say if we just if we're silent enough to listen. A lot of times we get our mouths running and we're running our mouths and running our mouths and running our mouths. And we can't even hear what it is thank you. You have a nice day too. Thank you. Um, we can't even hear what the Holy Spirit is trying to tell us to do in that situation. Even if it's a hard situation, it still could be an opportunity for us to be blessed if we listen. We have to show up. We have to forgive. And sometimes we just have to be still. Like yesterday. Um, I wasn't feeling very well. Um, I go through these bouts where I just I don't know. I'm allergic to everything and it gets pretty bad sometimes. And so yesterday I wasn't feeling well and my husband had said something, and I really couldn't even hear or see yesterday. It was that bad. And I was trying to ask him, what it was he said, and he repeated it, and I got super irritated. And instead of saying something rude or something, I can be rude, um, undercutting, I decided to just be still for a second. And my being still looked like, um, got some groceries. He said he was gonna cook, so I got the stuff he needed. I sat down and watched Kitchen Nightmares with Gordon Ramsay, some reruns that I've already seen before, and I was quiet because I could have disrupted the whole flow of the evening by running my mouth, running my mouth, running my mouth because I didn't feel good, or I could have just tried to feel better. It's little stuff like that. It's never nothing major or big. These are small opportunities to be obedient. And if you don't really know what it is that God's calling you to do, try being obedient in those small spaces. The spaces where people don't really even think about that make any sense. I don't know how many of you can realize that comfort can become an idol. We could worship comfort. Um, Comfort isn't always, bad because it feels good, but it is dangerous when we replace comfort with conviction. When we get so comfortable saying something, being a certain way, I am who I am and I'm going to be that person. You're idolizing the comfort of who you are. Because if you can be better, why not? My goal every day I wake up is to do my best to be the best version of me. I took some time to really understand kind of a little bit what that looks like. The best version of me is not who I am today. I'm just doing my best to be that. But you got to know yourself well enough to even visualize what the best version of you is. I could be comfortable with who I used to be and stay that way forever until I die. And the whole time I'm sinning because I'm idolizing the comfort of who I am. You could idolize the comfort of the type of money you make, the comfort of your job, the comfort of your routines. That's why some people freak out when things happen in their lives. Things can happen like kid gets really sick. Hope it doesn't happen, but life happens. You could get really sick. And instead of feeling bad, I see a lot of people getting mad. They're upset that their either short term or long term illness has disrupted their routine, that comfort that they were idolizing. And the reality is, when we step outside of that box, that comfortable, cozy little space, that's when growth actually is happening. Because no longer are you in this comfortable space where you are perfect. You're not in a space anymore where you know everything right to do. Stepping out of that spot, out of that comfort into growth, it's going to mean you're going to mess up some things. Some things are going to go wrong, really wrong, and you're going to mess it up. You are going to have hard lessons, very difficult things you're going to go through, and you're not really going to succeed at it the first time. And I think that's where a lot of the fear comes from because we don't want to grow because we know growth, think about If any of you have teenagers, when they start hitting puberty, their bodies are always aching, especially boys. Their bodies are always aching. It's something always hurts on them, their back, their legs, their arm. It's always hurting. And it's because when they hit that growth spurt, it hurts because the bones are growing, the muscles are growing quickly. I like to think of that not because I enjoy watching my boys go through that pain. I don't. But I know that they're coming out of that comfortable space in which they were 4 or 5, and then the next 2 days they're 5, 6. Eli, he grew and he's still growing. And so there's a few things that we need with that growth. We need guidance. We need a little bit of understanding of what is going on around us, which God allows us to know. Um, we need to trust the process, trust, and we have to take the action. And what God is so kindly, he does this so gently and kindly. His hand is there over that box that you're in. And it's just there, waiting for you to grab it so he can pull you up out of that box. I always would say, God, pick me up and pluck me out of my situation to a degree, but it was still me calling on him. I still took the first action. He didn't do it against my will. There was so much pain happening. I asked him to intervene. So before he picked me up and put me in a new place, I had to ask him, invite him to intervene in the situation. And I knew that this new space that he placed me in was going to be uncomfortable. But I also knew and trusted that I would be safe, I would be protected, even if it was uncomfortable. A lot of people delay because, they're willing to wait until they're ready. I just don't feel like this is a good time to do this. I don't feel ready for this. I haven't prepared enough. That was one of my excuses on why I didn't publish that first book, because it wasn't ready. But that's not what God said to do. I'm going to tell you what he told me. Say, write it, break it down into, summarize it, and put the summary out. That's what I heard. And I'm like, I have a hard time with this information and it's just not ready yet. And it's like, it didn't matter. The point wasn't to get book sales. The point of it wasn't to be this world renowned author. The point was to be obedient. And what I learned through that obedience is more skills. And so the next book that comes out and the next one, I just keep learning and getting better. But how do you learn how to swim if you're not going to get in the water? You can't say, oh, now I'm ready to get in the water and then learn how to, tread water or move yourself forward or float. You can't do that on the side of the pool. You have to get in the water. And so we tend to not do. We don't move. We stay still because we're not ready. God didn't ask if you were ready. God asked you to be obedient and just follow him. Not, are you ready to go? No, get up. Take up your cross and follow me. Let's go. We're going on a trip. Being obedient absolutely builds character. Couple of reasons. you start to get disciplined. My obedience has taught me time management. My obedience has taught me healthy eating and lifestyles. My obedience has taught me um, how to stay on top of responsibilities. I wasn't really good at any of that stuff. Like, I feel like I was prepared enough to work, but I don't feel like I was prepared enough to to like adult. I really didn't understand. Like, I saw what I saw and understood what I could, but I truly still didn't understand what that looked like in my life. And so I learned a lot of discipline. I'm still learning discipline as I'm being obedient. It just naturally happens because if you're looking to please God instead of pleasing people, you want to stay on top of the responsibilities that he gives you. It's not even a question. You 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 do the best that you can to plan for it. You do the best that you can to be there for it. You're present for the next thing. And with being present, wanting to show up, wanting to forgive, wanting to be closer to him, you're naturally going to learn discipline. So I used to smoke cigarettes. I smoked probably like a pack a day. It wasn't anything that I grew up doing. I didn't grow up smoking. I didn't start smoking until I was in my 20s. And so with that, it was just something that made me comfortable. Um, it helped with stress. Um, it truly just kind of was just a part of my day. And I didn't do anything special, but listen to God. I was coming from a friend's house and there was a homeless guy. He would always ask for a cigarette. He never really asked me for money. I gave him money a couple of times, but he really wanted a cigarette because I guess I smoked his kind. And so I give him a few cigarettes every now and then. And then I was at the light again and he came to the window. I gave him the whole pack. I didn't even take one out. I had just bought that pack. I gave him the whole pack. And that's the last time I bought cigarettes. And it wasn't something like was amazing or anything. It was just, okay, God said, give him the pack. So I did. Did I freak out after I gave him my pack? Maybe like 4 hours later, I was like, but I don't want to go buy another pack. I did what God said. He's told me to do that for a reason. So what's next? So I asked, hey, Father, now what do I do? And it work out for what? Like, that's the question. Like, for what? What am I working out for? What? Work out. And what that did was develop a discipline to where, okay, I worked out. Now what? What am I getting all strong for? My motorcycle. I didn't know that. My motorcycle. He had me give a pack of cigarettes away to see if I was going to be obedient. He told me to work out to see where my obedience was. I needed to work out because operating a bike is, you got to have some type of muscle. You can't just be weak. 4 rights to make this left. You develop more discipline, you develop more faith, and a spiritual maturity it, that carries you a long way. And then with all of this uncomfortable growth, you're experiencing testimonies. You are collecting testimonies. And as you're collecting testimonies, it's your responsibility to tell people Tell them your story. Your story is only yours. That's what I found. And that was the reason why, after I realized, after just continually, like, over and over doing what he's saying to do, sometimes, yeah, I roll my eyes because sometimes it's like, what? But what I found is every last one of us has a different story to tell. We've overcome something, and the way we overcame it is specific to who we are. We might have used a general template or guideline to overcome it, but it's still individualized because of who you are. No one can tell your story or your testimony and the way you got through it like you. I think about, autobiographies and biographies. No one can tell your story the way you can tell your story. If that means telling your story through art, you're going to be the only one to be able to depict it that way. If it's through writing, you're going to be the only one to say it the way you do. If it's through speaking, if it's through dancing, if it's through instruments, if it's through communicating, society, social environments, if it's through workplaces, you are the only one that can say your testimony the way you can. And as you're outside of this grow, you're now growing because you're outside of that comfortable box, that idle box that you were sitting in so long. Hi everybody, thank you for joining. I accept the hearts, like thank you. Hearts, hearts, hearts. Um but you are the only one that can say it. So you're sitting here in this box, not growing, not experiencing anything, not learning anything. It goes back to when I was in college. Um, One of my professors, she explained that she didn't respect another professor. And the reason she didn't expect another professor respect her was because she was teaching something she had never done. It's kind of like hypocritical. Like you're just taking somebody else's framework in this book and you're applying it based off of the framework in the book. Hi, Pastor Vonda. And at the end of it all, she had actually owned businesses. She actually knew what bootstrapping felt like. All of these different things that comes with a business environment. And it's the same way with, our lives, like our testimony, really. It's, I'll see you guys soon. I miss you guys too. We've been a little under the weather over here, so don't want to get everybody sick. But if we don't have any experiences, how can we say how good God has been in our lives? What testimony is there? If everything has always been super perfect because you stayed in the box, you have had no place to grow. You did not step out of the comfortable box at all. So you really don't know. You have nothing. Like for me, when I think about that, it's like, all right, when I listen to people talk, I love hearing that they had a personal experience with it. And then I listen to other people talk and they have no personal references at all. So with those two differences, I always go into, are they just like teaching what the book says? Or are they teaching through experience? I would much rather learn from someone through experience than just what this book says. And I think that's kind of a big thing with a lot of people who don't believe in God and don't follow God. It's because they're listening to people who are just reading the words. They can read. Most people can read. They can read the words themselves. It doesn't make a difference. It is when we step outside of that comfortable little box and we start to learn obedience, discipline, forgiveness. We start to learn more about ourselves, about God. We make mistakes. We fail for refinement. We don't fail because, that's the ultimate goal. We don't succeed at it because we need to learn more. And when that person who has had that experience and has the testimony to say that God lifted me from here and he brought me over here. And then when I did this, he was still there to help me get through X, Y, and Z. That means so much more to people than your perfect life, your perfect relationship. Like that really transcends with them to say, oh my goodness, you went through that and you still trusted God. And you could tell them read the book of Job. Job is a boring book, but it has a lot of information. But when I read it personally, it's a boring read. And so God knew what I needed. I needed to see other people in the likeness of Job. And, and to a degree, some of my life has been in the likeness of Job. And a lot of people need that. That's where I think it's amazing that God works with us. He knows that we need that testimony. It's all connected. It's all connected. And one of the best things about all of this is that he honors our obedience. Our obedience is putting us in a position to be blessed. It doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like it, right? It feels sometimes horrible, but it is positioning us for the blessings that he wants in our lives. It's allowing us to really see, like, take it back to the simple stuff. I'll take it back to my motorcycle. I quit smoking. I gave a pack of cigarettes to a homeless guy. 4 hours later, I was urging for a cigarette. He told me to work out. I had no idea why I was working out. I'm in pretty good shape. I'm healthy. Why do I need to get stronger? I'm pretty strong already. But I just shut up, went in the garage and started lifting the weights I had in there. Started working out. A week later, I bought a motorcycle. I knew I wanted one, but I didn't know I would be able to get it. That simple obedience with those two little steps. Stop smoking, start working out. He blessed me with a bike. Now, we also have to understand that our obedience, it brings clarity to our lives. It allows us to see our life for our life, not see our life through the lens of everybody else's quote unquote perfect life. We get to really see what it is that's going on. Me learning not to say something to everything, I learned that at a very young age, but I didn't realize what that was doing for me. Me just being quiet and speaking when he says to speak, quiet when he says to be quiet, I'm able to really catch. I can really see a lot of things that if you're running your mouth, you can't. If you're talky, you're not seeing it. You can't see it because you're not focusing on what is happening or the way this interaction went or the frowny face that this person gave this person that was smiling. You don't see any of that stuff. You also, at a bigger, broader scope, the clarity piece when it comes to people, you're not able to really see who's not supposed to be in your life. Friends, so-called friends, partners, so-called partners, jobs. You start seeing that God never wanted me here. He never wanted me to be here. I put myself here, and I put these horrible people around me. And no wonder why I feel so horrible, because I did all of this. And then you got to figure out how to step out of that box too. Some results are immediate, like the motorcycle thing. That was immediate. That happened like blink of an eye. But most times, it's not. And that's why it's really important for you not to judge people about their obedience to God. Just because it doesn't look the way you think it should look doesn't mean that their blessing isn't coming. It's coming. They just have to do what they have to do, what God told them to do, which is different from what God told you to do. Like, we have to stop allowing ourselves the the prestige, I guess, the privilege of being mightier and holier than thou because my obedience looks rough. What I've learned to do in my obedience, because I know that my blessing is more of a long-term thing, um, is to be present every day in every moment of my life, to be here right now. Do I plan for the future? God laughs at my plans. I just tell him specifically what I would like to have. I'm very specific about my prayers, and I'm asking what I'm asking God for, because yeah. So, yeah, I look forward to the future, but I have to be right now, right here, because I'm going to miss something if I'm not. If I'm dwelling and wallowing in my past and boo-hoo, woe is me, sob story, victim, 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 then I'm not looking at what's happening right here in front of me, right here around me in my life right now. And I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss the next directive from God. I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss his voice. I'm going to miss him saying what it is next that I need to do. I was getting ready for work. And with getting ready for work, I found that my first 2 sessions canceled. And you know what I planned to do? Get back in the bed. I got back in the bed and I made that video because I was convicted. I'm supposed to get up. I'm like, do what? I don't feel like cooking. You don't have to eat. Get up. Got something for you to do. Made a video. The video turned into, an idea. The idea turned into me sitting here talking about that idea to you guys. So you get really clear about what it is. And that clarity also brings, I don't care what y'all got to say. I don't even care. I know what God said to do. I'm gonna do that. I don't care how weird, strange, odd, off-putting, angry, happy. I don't care how it looks to y'all at all. Not at all. Don't care. And that's part of that clarity piece. But then you find this peace and where I know I'm doing what God says to do. So no matter what's going on around me, I'm still doing what God says to do. So y'all have that. The ultimate point of today is to not confuse discomfort with disobedience. I was told before, either I heard this or was told this, I can't quite recall, but I was told before, if you want to know what it is you're supposed to be doing, that God wants you to do, try to think of the thing that's a good thing to do that you don't want to do the most. That's probably what where your obedience is sitting. So go grab that and stop procrastinating on it. You're never going to be ready. You begin by beginning. You will never be ready. You got to start somewhere. Um, Sometimes you feel very unsettled, and it's not because you're doing anything wrong when you're being obedient. That unsettled feeling is that you're doing something right. It's that excitement that you experience before something good happens, because you don't know if this good thing is actually going to happen, but you feel like it is, and you get excited. That unsettled feeling where you just, it's all, everything's like always kind of moving, and it's like, I want this really badly. And I don't know how to do this. You're telling me to do this thing. I didn't know how to open a Shopify store. My husband has a Shopify store that gives like workers like blue collar um t-shirts, hoodies. We're working on a contract for protective gear. But I had no idea. And within a week, I did. It's that simple. It is that simple to be obedient. It's just uncomfortable because while I was learning about this stuff, I was like, I don't know if I can. This is a lot of information. I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that. Oh gosh, I still gotta focus on my job and kids and the work and the writing, and I don't know if my brain can a Shopify store. I was just excusing it all away, trying to anyway. And then when I sat down and looked on this cute little app, it's people up here teaching for free how to build Shopify stores for free. I'm like, oh, and that's simple. I put that store together in like 2 days. The designs and everything. I'm still working on more designs. Like, simple, easy peasy. You feel unsettled because it's something that's not comfortable. It's not your normal thing to do. It's not in your routine or your habits. You've made your mindset a specific way. So thinking outside of the box is difficult. Do the difficult thing. I promise you, you'll be closer to obedience than you think. I appreciate everybody for joining me today. Um, this was all about obedience. I think this week was very focused in obedience. So if you could leave a heart for me or just a bunch of little likes, I would appreciate that. I'm going to close this out with saying I appreciate everybody that joined on TikTok. Thank you guys on Facebook for joining. Check out I got a new TikTok out and I've made it a reel. So go like and comment and share if you could. That helps me out so much. Other than that, I really appreciate. Oh, also, YouTube, like and subscribe. I'm gonna work on that. I gotta, I gotta work on that. But this will be on my YouTube page shortly. So like and subscribe my channel. I'm gonna post the channel under in the comment section under the posted link. So thank you guys and have a blessed Friday.